In sports news, LIV Golf is a real thing.
LIV, dude.
Live.
No,
I think it's
the Roman numerals, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it LIV for now. That's what they're gonna be called.
Because in here,
you need to have a moniker. You need to have a moniker.
No,
you need to have something.
I've been calling it LIV. I don't know why.
Why would you
LIV?
Oh, LIV Golf. That's so much harder instead of LIV Golf. That actually sounds kind of tight. LIV Golf.
It's the Roman numerals. You know why Roman numerals?
Because it's Arabic.
Because it's 54. No, because it's 54, and so it's a reference. The LIV is really the Roman numerals for the number 54, because all their golf tournaments have 54 holes. So even though we're calling it LIV, it's really Roman numerals.
But is it 54 separate holes, or is it 18 holes and you play over 3 days like a tournament? So
right. So basically you play 3 rounds.
You play 3 rounds,
but it's still the same 18 though. It's 18,
right?
And you play it 3 different days. They might change the greens a little bit.
So typically, here's how it works. Typically, the PGA, LPGA, on the Pro Tour, you play 4 rounds.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Secondly, there's a cut. So after the second round, they establish a cut line. So basically, everyone below a certain score, you got to go. You don't make it for the weekend. LIV Golf has eliminated cuts. Everybody plays the whole 54 holes over the 3 days, and and has a team too. So they do for every tournament. They do a weekly draft.
Yes.
So you have team captains and they draft players and they do it that way. So it's different and it's interesting, but the big issue with LIV Golf is simply that, well, let's talk about the fund. So it's funded by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. Greg Norman's their CEO. So Greg Norman, he's a former world number 1, 2-time major winner.
He's Aussie.
He's Australian. Yeah, blonde Australian. He might not be blonde.
He always wore the hat.
The big issue with them, with the money, where it's coming from, is a moral issue. Because again, as we know, Saudi Arabia's links to 9/11. So a lot of 9/11 victims' families have written to a lot of these players, especially Phil Mickelson, who's been currently the face of LIV Golf. Also, the human rights violations. They've had a lot of human rights violations in Saudi Arabia. Of course, the link to the murder of Jamal Khashoggi, who was the journalist from Washington Post. Mm-hmm. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, one of their big things is they invest in a lot of different types of sports entities. I think they also have a stake in, one of the British soccer teams. They have
one of the Premier League teams.
Premier League teams. Mm-hmm. But what they have is, and I was reading an article about the sports washing. So in essence, they're investing in all these different things to be like, hey, we're not so terrible, which is like, yeah, but there's still the record. The record of all the bullshit you've done is there. So that's kind of LIV Golf in a nutshell. The big thing has been the money. They've literally got billions of dollars to spend.
Yes.
And the thing about it is folks like Phil Mickelson, who complained about, the PGA's holding out, they're making money. Guys like Dustin Johnson, him and Phil Mickelson signed huge contracts to go play in this league. And for those guys and many of the guys who have gone, the big thing has been about money equals status. So think about it this way. You think about the NBA, you say, okay, you got your top tier players, then you've got, second tier, third tier, whatever. Think about if everybody in the NBA was LeBron James status. That's what they're trying to say for LIV Golf, that everybody, I have this high status, we should all make the same amount of money. And because they have unlimited resources, that's why they're playing it. And I think it's crazy because, yes, there's a moral issue to this, that they shouldn't be taking this blood money.
Exactly.
Right. But at the same time, too, not everyone can have the same status in this game. Everyone plays the game well. But Tiger's the only billionaire in golf. He just recently made the billionaires list for Forbes. So what Phil Mickelson is saying, that I should be Tiger status, I'm going, dude, you're good, but you're not that good.
No, yeah.
Plus, these guys they make good money on the tour. They make more money than the ladies. And I'll kind of get back to that in a second. But they make sponsorship money. They got all shit on their clothes, their bags. They do commercials.
The majority of their money comes from this sponsorship money. 90% of their money.
Now, going back to the ladies for a second, the U.S. Open, the Women's U.S. Open went off a couple weeks ago. They just finished the the Women's PGA Championship today, and the winner got $1.35 million. That is twice what they normally make. When the U.S. Open happened a couple weeks ago, that was the biggest purse. I think 1.9 million, I believe is the number. That's the biggest purse they've had. Think about this. Think about how long it's taken. And of course, we couple all this with what? We just had the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and we're still seeing this great discrepancy. But you got these selfish assholes over here talking about I don't make enough money. What fucking money do you need?
Blood money. So I'm glad you said this, Woody, because I just argued with Jared earlier this week about this league. And I was like, Jared, it's not about the PGA and what it did or didn't do. It's about, this is blood money, Saudi blood money, right? Here's another shitty ass point, Woody. The next tournament, I believe, is in Portland.
Correct.
In Portland, there was one of the Saudis, like high ups. I don't know if he was royal family or not. He was in school out there. He did a hit and run and killed the kid.
Yes, correct.
He killed the kid,
and
then he got arrested. Put him on. They released him on bail with an ankle monitor. Somehow his ankle monitor gets taken off, and he private jet somewhere. He disappears. Private jet, probably back to Saudi Arabia, and they're gonna hold this in the northern hills of Portland. It's just really a slap in the face. This Saudi Arabia money has been a slap in the face. When they bought Newcastle, it was a slap in the face, and everyone in England protested, did not say, why are you selling to them? Jared, this is not about money. This is about players being greedy, and it's about money as far as Saudi trying to buy your forgiveness for everything we've done wrong. All these human right violations, all the homosexual people who we deem as homosexual being evil, and we killed them, right? We're trying to forget all of this, and they're trying to fuck this league. This isn't Kurt Flood, fighting for free agency. This isn't players fighting for, some player in NBA fighting for the player empowerment movement. This is just greed and money trying to buy your way, your blood money. It is blood money. This is just as bad as the conflict diamonds in Africa. This is on that level.
So where does the public fund money come from? It just comes from the country.
The oil.
Yeah. Their oil sales.
And they basically said they are willing to spend as much money as it takes. Their first event, they had a lot of people, but they said they were selling tickets, but they didn't sell as many tickets. They ended up giving away tickets. Yeah. The atmosphere was more carnival like. So I likened it to like South by Southwest meets a golf tournament, something like to that degree. Burning Man meets a golf tournament.
Coachella at the golf course.
Correct. That's
they
what
get Yeezy yet.
Who knows? TV might show up. But it's really a mess. But here's some more pieces to this. They've talked to a lot of high level people, like they talked to a lot of big names. So there was a report that when they first started this, that Greg Norman became the CEO. They actually asked Jack Nicklaus to do this initially. He refused because Norman's making a lot of money off of just being the CEO. They offered Tiger Woods a 9-figure deal. He said, fuck that. He was out. He rejected it. But again, you got guys, major winners, guys who are big names on the tour who have left. So like I mentioned, Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, Brooks Koepka is the latest big name to leave. He's a 2-time U.S. Open champion, but a lot of big names have left. And Koepka, I can kind of halfway tolerate him. DeChambeau won the U.S. Open, I think, a year or two before him. DeChambeau's a piece of shit.
Yeah,
he can go. Sergio Garcia is an asshole. I don't think anyone likes Sergio Garcia.
He wasn't even winning. He made more money in 1 year. Then he was.
He pulled a Gareth Bale. He's like, man, I'm going to this league where I can just age gracefully and make way more money to age gracefully.
To me, DeChambeau is basically the 20th century version of John Daly. He can hit the ball long. You win a major. Ooh, you'll probably never win another fucking major ever again. John Daly won one major. He won one major. He won the PGA, and that was it. All Daly was known for hitting the ball long. He couldn't hit short to shave it
and smoking cigarettes.
Exactly. He's
drinking and smoking. Yeah.
He's fat as fuck. He's a Trump supporter. Fuck John Daly. Fuck Bryson DeChambeau.
Well, Brandon, as our business expert, based on what Woody has broken down for us, what do you think about this whole LIV Golf thing?
Hey man, evil does, man. What evil's gonna do, man? I think man, they got enough money to buy whoever they're gonna buy. And some people could definitely put those morals to the side and just take the money and say, all right, cool, I'm gonna do something good in my life with this money. I tend to lean towards not really caring about this. I mean, that's what they do with the money, right? They're not political ambassadors officially, these golf players. Like, they're just like, oh, you want to pay me money? Let me go get this check. I think anything that has to do with like human rights, atrocities, and things like that, I feel like I want to say the U.S. government should get involved with that sort of thing, right? And I think the sort of moral judgment on them needs to come from that level, right? I think other world leaders need to be the ones that police that.
Yeah, because I don't hear about no players getting recruited to go play baseball in Cuba.
I ain't getting paid to go play baseball in Cuba.
I'm just saying though, but like if Cuba had a popping ass baseball league because it wasn't sanctioned out the fucking wazoo, or you know what I'm saying, like something like that, then
they ain't got enough population to have it.
I know, but I'm just saying they also don't have the resources,
right,
and then
that's all they got.
They don't have the resources where we're like, well, they had the resources to help build this country up, but they didn't have the resources to say, hey, we're moving into the industrial age. Now we need crude oil and we need to keep this relationship flowing because you never know, we're dependent on them in that degree. Only 5 and 6% of our crude oil and petroleum imports. So I guess that's not like we're not overly dependent on them, but we still do business with them. We still import their oil. So I think it's a precedent you set from the leadership, like you said, Brandon. Like the highest level needs to do what they're going to do. If they're not bold enough to do it, then you can't tell. And these aren't all just American athletes. These are athletes from around the world. If your government and your elected officials have relationships and have economic ties or relationships with these people that you're trying to say are immorally wrong, then like, how are you to say that you as an individual in a free market idea can't go take up? And granted, there is a moral and there's an ethical component to every decision somebody has to make. And these golfers obviously they can afford to not even have to look at those things. I would say they don't like, they're not confronted with those things because they live a life, as you said, being wealthy men, wealthy athletes that play in a very expensive sport, which usually comes from wealth. They've never had to even really reconcile or have had to deal with that because they can afford to not have to pay attention to it.
Yeah. I mean, all these moral dilemmas that you have, like, it's hard for me to care about everything just personally. Mm-hmm. You feel me? I would just only quote Marlo Stanfield from The Wire. It's like, you want it to be one way, but it's the other way. I would love Saudi Arabia to be more ethical and treat people better and accept, homosexuality and not necessarily, assassinate people the way they do, but they still do it.
You just named a whole plethora of shit to be like, you don't have to care about it to still be like, you know what? You fucked up. I don't have to care about something. Look, I'll be honest. There's some shit I don't care about that a lot of people march for, right? I don't care about, but I can still sit here and say, that's fucked up, right?
Yeah, but it's the way you attack it, because like stopping some golfer from going over there and playing golf doesn't really change it, because Saudi Arabia's got the worst press.
They're playing golf here. They're not playing like in Saudi Arabia.
That they're going to get.
They're fucking die.
The same thing here, wherever they're playing, right? But we got to follow the money everywhere if we're going to follow the money there, right? Because there's people here that we actually can't affect. There's people here who are committing atrocities, who are getting away with murder, who are affecting Black lives in a way that we need to be more, get our energy behind, rather than, especially for a sport like golf, which is, it's golf. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
The power we have is in our dollars, is in our spending, is in our viewership, is in those things, right?
Right.
That's one of the powers we have. And I think what I'm just saying is let me just educate people I know and be like, fuck, like I said, me and Jared had a conversation about, let me educate you, Jared, for what I know. This is a shitty thing to get behind, right? Fuck that. I'll leave my TV on the PGA Tour. Let them get some ratings, right? Not that I fucking care about watching golf all day. I mean, I did watch the Women's Championship today and saw the...
but the PGA Tour doesn't even properly pay its women equitable wage, right?
But no, it's a separate league. It's a ladies PGA. It's just like the WNBA. You can only pay by revenue, right? Mm-hmm. That's just as much as our fault than anyone else. Everybody pointing figures. Tell me this. How many lady LPGA tours you watch? For 10 minutes, even 15. How many WNBA games you gone to? I know how many I've been to. 0.
Man, I was watching Christy Yamaguchi out there with the mid-range game. Just kidding. She was an ice skater.
Exactly.
So what was that? But I do agree. No, I agree with you, Aaron. My contention is, Aaron, you know the NFL to be a very harmful thing to people's bodies, primarily poor people's bodies that play that sport. That is, and they've done their part to cover up shit about how bad it is for people's bodies medically with the drugs they've given them and the addiction, also from the CTE.
Yeah, can you tell me what that means?
And they've actually done it. And you told me yourself that I don't give a damn. It's a sport. It's a gladiator sport. I like watching it. It's something I like. And so in a certain way, you're making a decision with your morals around that. And I like football too. And I think the thing is like being clear and open and not like covering shit up, but also like you've been somebody who I'm just paraphrasing.
I didn't see the NFL kill nobody.
No, I'm not saying that that person that ran somebody over or the head of state that called for the hit. If our government, that's what I'm saying. If our government isn't intervening in a way that's actually like setting some kind of precedent, who is it to say that these individuals who want to travel the world and interact and do business? I'm not saying that like they're making the right or this decision I would make. I'm not saying that I would make that decision, but I can see why. And I'm not saying I'm gonna get behind LIV Golf, but I can see why. And so I'm not taking it as offense because I don't really care about the PGA, but also I'm not taking it as an offense because I'm not, nationalizing this other business in another country, because other businesses in other countries could look at us as Americans in very much the same way. You know what I'm saying? Tony Stark, the dude that saved his life, he had bombed his family. You know what I'm saying? Stark Industries, rockets, he was funding both sides of the war. You know what I'm saying? As much as I do agree with the argument about the blood money and we shouldn't be doing business with them at all, if we don't agree and they are fundamentally at their core doing things that are what we consider human rights infractions, then yeah, I'm down with that. But that's not happening. There's still 5% of our oil, which is not a lot, but that's enough. Shit, we didn't have that 5% come from them. How expensive will gas be right now? It'd be at least $10. Regardless, it's hard for me to take a super hard moral stance. I do agree though with that understanding, and I'm not planning to support LIV Golf, but I also am not looking at it as big a deal as I know it's been made out to be, in some.
Well, it hasn't been made out to be. It's still a big deal, just because
it is.
Making a big deal.
Well, it's not about that. It's such a macro issue with such a micro sort of activity, which is golf, right? Like all the money they have, they could put $1 billion behind this. That's just a fraction of a percent of the money they have, right? That's just one of the things they put.
NFL not allow them to buy a team. With the NFL, if they showed up and said, hey, Daniel Snyder is a piece of shit, and he's being subpoenaed by the Congress. We need to get him out. And the motherfucking Saudis were like, we're gonna give you $30 billion for the Washington football team.
Okay.
Would the NFL say no to that?
They probably won't, because Roger Goodell's a piece of shit.
That's why, I get your guys' passion and interest in it and the angle you're coming from.
But you're saying a hypothetical that hasn't happened and has not happened. Can we stick to what has happened?
Yeah. You can always the political assassination of Jamal Khashoggi. I know, I get that.
A bunch of hypotheticals, we can always make this shit equal outright.
It's more than just Khashoggi. It goes way beyond that.
No, I know.
But if you can say the head of Saudi Arabia ordered a hit, is it on him or is it on the whole country? Everybody has made any money in the country? Is it just the average citizens that's a part of it? The people who buy into that sort of culture that oppresses people in that country, right? You feel me? Which arm of Saudi Arabia is really responsible, and how much of that is fair or unfair or whatever.
Yeah, I feel that, Brandon.
I mean, I feel like me and Jared are saying the same thing.
Yeah, but it's not a good thing, but it's good. It's good. No, I don't know, Woody. So I didn't know anything about this. Other than I read a very little bit and I had seen just tweets about people kind of saying stuff about it, but you gave me way more insight. So I'm just trying to figure out for you, other than the blood money, does this sport excite you the way they're trying to build it out? Do you think it's going to be sustainable, or do you think this is something they're going to be able to pinch out and squeeze out, or there's going to be bigger action taken to stomp it out?
I talked about this, I think, on my last episode of my show, that John Rahm, who, when he addressed the media at the U.S. Open as the defending champion, they asked him a question. They said, do you think this will be a threat to the PGA if more players leave? He goes, I don't know. He goes, they literally asked him a question that he couldn't answer. LIV Golf has basically said that they're willing to spend as much money as possible to make this thing work. So it sounds like they have unlimited resources. The PGA does not. But the thing I think the PGA has going for them is that they've got tradition. And I think John Rahm, I think he summed this up beautifully by saying that, number one, he goes, I want to play 72 holes of golf. I want to play against the best. He goes, I don't like the fact that they don't cut players. He goes, I like that because if you're not up to snuff, you got to go. Perfect. And he also alluded to something that made sense. Now, for me, I don't watch every tournament. I watch the majors. I play golf. I watch the majors. This year, I made more of a concerted effort to watch more of the ladies tour, kind of, having a conversation with a professional, a PGA professional, an LPGA professional. But bottom line is this. If you look at all four majors in golf, and if you win a major, look at the names of people who have won it in front of you. You are part of a very exclusive club. And that I think that's something you can't take away from someone who's playing the PGA versus LIV Golf. LIV doesn't have that. I know it's just started, but I don't think LIV will create that kind of tradition. For me personally, I don't think having a Coachella type atmosphere in a golf tournament, I don't think that's the right move. But like I said, I think it all goes down to the moral aspect of it. A lot of these players have basically gone to the usual playbook of, oh, I just play golf. I should be a spokesperson for morality, but you should be, because if you think about the things that have happened in this world, unfortunately, we can say that we know the Saudi ties to 9/11. That has affected this world in a very negative way. So with them trying to spend money, again, going back to the term sports washing, they are trying to basically say, oh, we're good people. Don't worry about all the other stuff. They're trying to deflect away from all their bullshit. So at the end of the day, is going to be sustainable? That's a very good question. If they've got unlimited resources, this might be an issue for quite a while.
Hopefully it takes off. Just kidding. I think the whole team, the team aspect, and I think that sounds interesting. And 54 holes, more of a sprint, sounds like it might be interesting. But I don't plan on supporting it, so you ain't got to worry about my Chinese Negro ass supporting it. So, so morally, I am okay. Now, if they offer me money to talk about it again in a positive light, shout out to LIV Golf sponsorship.